...2011, the Kenya Defense Forces cross into Somalia. Their mission? To dismantle the al-Shabaab terror group and restore peace to a war-torn neighbor. The operation's code name, Linda Nchi, or Protect the Nation. But one city, a strategic jewel on the Somali coast, stood between the Kenyan military and victory. That city was Kismayo. As Kenyan troops pushed deeper into Somalia, it became clear that Kismayo wasn't just another urban center. It was the enemy's lifeline, the engine of their entire operation. This sprawling port city was the hub for a dark economy built on illegal charcoal exports, smuggling, and piracy. The revenue generated here, estimated in the tens of millions of dollars annually, funded terror attacks not just in Somalia, but across East Africa. Capturing Kismayo meant cutting off the financial oxygen that sustained al-Shabaab. The initial strategy was a ground assault. KDF columns advanced from multiple directions, pushing from towns like Afmadao and Tobli. But the progress was slow and treacherous. The roads were not just dirt tracks, they were death traps, laced with improvised explosive devices, or IEDs. Ambush became a daily reality. The enemy, fighting on familiar ground, used guerrilla tactics to inflict casualties and sow chaos. Every kilometer gained was paid for in sweat, and too often in blood. The constant threat of attack, the blistering heat, and the relentless pressure tested the morale of the soldiers at every single turn. As the weeks turned into months, a sense of stalemate began to creep in. By mid-2012, the overland offensive had slowed to a crawl. Losses were mounting, and the prospect of a drawn-out, bloody urban battle for Kismayo loomed large. The High Command knew they needed a new plan, a masterstroke that could break the deadlock, outsmart the enemy, and avoid the catastrophic casualties of street-to-street fighting. Inside the command tents, surrounded by tactical maps and the hum of generators, a radical new idea began to take shape. It was a strategy born from necessity, a gamble of historic proportions. In a pivotal briefing, the commander of the main assault force, Colonel William Kamoiro, gathered his officers. The mood was tense. The existing plan was failing. Looking at the map, he pointed not towards the land routes, but towards the vast blue expanse of the Indian Ocean. He then uttered the words that would change the course of the war. Gentlemen, we strike where they least expect, from the sea. That single, decisive statement marked the birth of Operation Sledgehammer. For the first time in its history, the Kenya Defense Forces would conduct a full-scale amphibious landing, an assault from the ocean onto enemy shores. Planning an amphibious landing is one of the most complex military operations imaginable. Colonel Kamoiro's plan required flawless coordination, absolute precision, and unwavering discipline. The training was intense and unforgiving. At naval bases in Manda Bay and Mukunguni, soldiers and sailors drilled day and night, testing men and machines against the harsh coastal environment. They practiced beach landings, synchronized movements, and simulated combat scenarios. Far away in the arid landscapes of Loruk and Baringo County, Kenya's special forces were pushed to their physical and mental limits enduring weeks of specialized drills designed to forge them into the tip of the spear for the coming assault. This was more than just training. It was the meticulous preparation for a moment that would be etched into military history. To ensure the plan's success, secrecy became the most critical weapon. A single leak could compromise the entire operation, leading to a massacre on the beaches. The mission was hidden under so many layers of classification that even KDF's own allies, the Somali National Army, were kept in the dark about the true objective. They were fed false intelligence, told that the amphibious force would land at the small coastal town of Kode, a clever diversion to draw al-Shabaab's attention away from the real prize. All communication was monitored. Officers had their phones locked away. As soldiers boarded the ships under the cover of darkness, an invisible shield of silence descended over the entire operation. While the decoy force made conspicuous preparations, the real strike force, 3 Battle Group, under the direct command of Colonel Kamoiro, was quietly assembling, ready to make its move. While the amphibious force prepared in secret, the ground troops of 9 Battle Group continued their push towards Kismayo to maintain pressure on the enemy. But near the town of Mido, they ran into a wall of resistance. The brutal setback at Mido was a turning point. It became painfully clear that the overland route was too costly. The High Command made a difficult but necessary decision: halt the main ground advance and place all faith in Operation Sledgehammer. The sea assault was no longer just an alternative, it was the only way forward. By late September 2012, the fleet was finally ready. The ships lay anchored at Mukunguni, their silhouettes dark against the moonlit ocean. On board were 33 officers and 934 soldiers, a compact, highly trained force. In the cargo holds were 53 armored vehicles, artillery, and all the supplies needed to establish a beachhead and fight their way into the city. Their orders were simple and absolute: land on the shores of Kismayo and end the war for the city. As the soldiers tightened their gear and performed their final checks, a tense calm settled over the fleet. They were ready for the enemy, but the sea has its own temper, and before the storm of Operation Sledgehammer could strike Kismayo, a very different kind of storm would first strike them. Thanks for watching. If you want to see what happened next, make sure you subscribe to our channel for part 2 of this incredible story. We'll see you in the next one.